The massive chamber stretched far beyond what human eyes could see. Golden light poured down from crystals floating high above, casting strange shadows on the polished floor. Ambassador Daeho Kim stood alone in the center of the great hall. His black uniform crisp and clean, despite the long journey to reach this place. Around him, towering beings of different shapes and colors sat on floating platforms. Some looked like living metal with glowing eyes. Others were made of what seemed like living crystal that caught and bent the light. A few appeared to be clouds of gas held together by mysterious forces. Each one was larger than any human, and their presence filled the air with power. Kept his face calm and still. He had practiced this moment for years. His hands stayed at his sides, and his breathing remained steady. Behind his quiet expression, his mind was working fast, remembering every detail of the room and every word that would be spoken. The largest being on the highest platform began to speak. Its voice was like breaking glass mixed with the sound of wind through metal. This was Overlord Velthanis, the leader of the Galactic Council. When it spoke, all other sounds in the chamber stopped. Human Ambassador Kim, the voice echoed through the vast space. You stand before the Galactic Council to hear judgment upon your species. Daeho nodded once but said nothing. He had learned long ago that silence was often more powerful than words when dealing with beings who loved to hear themselves speak. Velthanis continued, its crystalline body pulsing with different colors as it spoke. For 50 years, the Council has watched humanity spread across the galaxy. We welcomed you as new members of galactic civilization. We offered you trade agreements and shared our knowledge. We believed you were grateful for our guidance. The other Council members shifted on their platforms. Some made sounds that might have been agreement. Others remained perfectly still, watching the small human below with eyes that glowed like distant stars. But recent events have shown your true nature, Velthanis said, and now anger crept into its voice. The incident at Kepler Prime has revealed what humanity truly is. You are not grateful students. You are dangerous rebels who cannot be controlled. Daeho remembered the Kepler incident well. Captain Sujin Park had been ordered to stand down while 3 primitive species faced extinction from a natural disaster. The Council had called it natural selection and said no one should interfere. Sujin had looked at the billions of innocent lives about to be lost and made her choice. She saved them all, breaking every Council law in the process. Captain Park acted without orders, Velthanis continued. She defied direct commands from this Council. She interfered with natural processes that have guided galactic evolution for millions of years. This cannot be allowed to continue. A new voice joined the conversation. This one sounded like rushing water mixed with the rumble of distant thunder. It came from a being that looked like living liquid held in the shape of a massive tree. The humans show no respect for established order. They question decisions that have kept peace in the galaxy for centuries. They are unpredictable, added another voice, this one high and sharp like metal scraping metal. Their emotions make them dangerous. They act without thinking of consequences. Daeho almost smiled at this. If only they knew how much thinking had gone into every human action over the past 50 years. If only they understood the level of planning that had brought them to this very moment. Velthanis raised what might have been an arm, and all other voices stopped. The Galactic Council has reached a unanimous decision. The species known as humans has proven itself to be a threat to galactic stability and order. This threat must be eliminated. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Around the chamber, the alien beings watched to see how this small human would react. Some probably expected him to beg for mercy. Others might have thought he would argue or make threats. Instead, Daeho simply nodded again, as if he had expected this all along. All human settlements, ships, and installations throughout the galaxy are to be destroyed within one standard galactic cycle, Velthanis announced. Any species found helping or hiding humans will face immediate punishment. Any trade agreements with human worlds are now void. Any diplomatic relations are ended. The Overlord paused, letting the weight of the words settle. Humanity will be removed from the galaxy completely. This is the will of the Council. As the pronouncement echoed through the chamber, Deho felt a strange sense of relief. After 50 years of careful acting, of pretending to be less than they were, of smiling and nodding while being treated like children, the charade was finally over. 2 massive guards moved forward to escort him away. They were members of the HFY species, standing nearly 3 meters tall with thick armor-like skin and 4 arms each. They had probably been chosen to intimidate him with their size and strength. As they approached, Deho caught sight of a familiar face in the diplomatic viewing area. Commander Tae-Min Lee sat among the junior staff and observers, dressed in the simple robes of a cultural attaché. To anyone watching, he looked like just another low-level diplomat. Their eyes met for just a moment. Deho's lips barely moved as he whispered a single word: Phoenix. Tae-Min's expression did not change, but his hand made a small gesture, as if adjusting his sleeve. The message had been received and understood. The guards reached Deho and began to lead him away. As they walked toward the exit, he heard Velthanis speaking to the other council members. Send the orders immediately. All military forces are to begin operations against human targets within 6 standard hours. This threat will be eliminated quickly and completely. What of human colonies that surrender without fighting? Asked one of the council members. There will be no surrenders accepted, Velthanis replied coldly. Complete elimination is the only solution. We have learned that showing mercy to dangerous species only leads to greater problems later. As the chamber doors closed behind him, Deho allowed himself a small smile. The council was about to discover just how right they were about showing mercy to dangerous species. They were also about to learn that they had made their decision about 50 years too late. In hidden locations across the galaxy, humans were already receiving Tae-Min's coded message. The Phoenix Protocol was now active. The war the Council thought they were starting had actually been planned by humanity from the very beginning. The galaxy was about to change forever, and the Council had no idea what was coming. The Phoenix message traveled faster than any Council communication could follow. Within hours of Ambassador Deho Kim's coded word, humans across the galaxy began to reveal their true nature. What the Council believed would be a simple extermination quickly became their worst nightmare. On Nexus Prime, the largest trading station in the Outer Rim, Ha-Jun Lim was closing another successful business deal. For 20 years, he had been known as one of the most reliable merchants in the sector. Species from dozens of worlds trusted him with their most valuable cargo. His warehouse held goods worth billions of credits, and his reputation was spotless. Ha-Jun was checking inventory in his main storage facility when his personal communicator chimed with an incoming message. The display showed only a single word: Phoenix. He looked at the message for exactly 3 seconds, then deleted it and smiled. Attention! All station personnel. Ha-Jun's voice echoed through the facility's communication system. Please report to emergency positions immediately. This is not a drill. His workers, mostly humans who had been hired over the years, moved with surprising speed and coordination. What had appeared to be simple cargo handlers and clerks suddenly displayed military precision. They moved through the warehouse with purpose, unsealing containers that had never been opened during inspections. Commander Gexthul of Station Security received the first emergency alert 15 minutes later. The massive Vorthek warrior had served as head of security for 8 years and had never seen anything like what his monitors were showing him. Energy readings throughout the merchant district were climbing to impossible levels. What is happening? In Sector 7, Gexthul demanded through his communicator. Sir, we are detecting weapon signatures that should not exist, his lieutenant reported. The fear in the young officer's voice was clear. The readings show technology beyond anything in our databases. Jexthal grabbed his weapon and headed for the merchant district with a full security team. As they approached HFY's facility, they could see that the building had changed. What had looked like a simple warehouse now bristled with defensive systems that seemed to grow from the walls themselves. Hajun stepped out to meet them, no longer wearing the simple clothes of a merchant. His new outfit was clearly military, made from materials that seemed to bend light around them. Behind him, his workers had taken positions with weapons that hummed with deadly energy. "Commander Gexthul," Hajun said calmly, "I believe you have received new orders regarding humans on this station." The Vorthak commander's forearms tensed, ready to draw his weapons. "All humans are to be arrested immediately for transport to council detention facilities." Hajun nodded as if he had expected this answer. "I am afraid that will not be possible. You see, this station depends on more human involvement than you realize. We have been maintaining critical systems for years. If you remove us, the station will stop functioning within hours." "You are bluffing," Gexthal growled, but uncertainty crept into his voice. "Check your power grid," Hajun suggested. "Look at your life support systems. Examine your traffic control networks. I think you will find some interesting surprises." While this confrontation played out on Nexus Prime, similar scenes were happening across the galaxy. In the Council's most secure research facility, Dr. The Jin Wang was having her own revelation. For 40 years, she had worked as a xenobiologist, studying alien species for what her colleagues believed was pure scientific curiosity. She had published hundreds of papers on alien physiology and had won awards for her contributions to galactic medicine. Everyone who knew her considered her to be a dedicated scientist who loved learning about different forms of life. What they did not know was that every study she conducted, every paper she published, and every award she won was part of a much larger project. She had been systematically cataloging the weaknesses of every major species in the galaxy. When the Phoenix message reached her, Dr. Wang was in her laboratory working on what appeared to be a routine study of Kethver immune systems. She read the message, then calmly walked to her secure terminal and began the largest data theft in galactic history. "Computer, begin emergency backup protocol Omega-7, she said quietly. "That protocol requires level 10 security clearance." The computer responded. Dr. Wang placed her hand on the scanner. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the computer's voice changed, becoming more mechanical and precise. "Welcome, Dr. Wang. Phoenix protocol confirmed. Beginning data extraction." Every file in the facility's computers began copying to hidden storage devices that Dr. Wang had installed over the years. Centuries of classified research on alien technology, biology, and psychology flowed into human databases. Military secrets, technological blueprints, and strategic information that had taken the Council millennia to gather was now in human hands. Meanwhile, near the Galactic Rim, Captain Bio Ramseo's archaeological expedition was undergoing its own transformation. For 3 years, her team had been studying ancient ruins on a dead world, supposedly looking for clues about extinct civilizations. The Council had approved the mission as harmless scientific research. When Bio Ram received the Phoenix message, she walked to what appeared to be an ordinary excavation site. She placed her hand on a stone that looked exactly like dozens of others scattered around the ruins. The stone recognized her touch and sank into the ground, revealing a hidden control panel. "All team members, return to base camp immediately," she announced through her communicator. "Operation Phoenix is now active." Her archaeological team moved with military efficiency that would have surprised anyone who had observed them over the past years. They were not scientists pretending to be soldiers. They were elite special forces who had been pretending to be scientists. The excavation equipment began to change. unfolding and reshaping itself into something far more dangerous. What had looked like simple dig-in tools revealed themselves as components of a mobile fortress. The research camp transformed into a military base with weapons that made Council dreadnoughts look like children's toys. As Captain Boaram's base powered up its defenses, energy readings from the dead world became visible to Council monitoring stations throughout the sector. Within hours, emergency reports were flooding into Council headquarters from across the galaxy. "Sir, we are receiving impossible reports from multiple sectors," a communications officer reported to Council Command. "What kind of reports?" demanded Fleet Admiral Vekmer, the Council's supreme military commander. "Human installations are activating advanced defensive systems. Energy signatures indicate technology superior to our own. Multiple facilities that we believed were civilian are revealing military capabilities." Admiral Vekmer studied the reports flowing across his screens. What he saw made no sense. According to all intelligence, humans were a primitive species with basic technology. They had been in space for less than 200 years. They should not possess weapons that could threaten Council forces. "How many human installations are showing these readings?" he asked. The communications officer checked his displays, and his expression grew worried. "All of them, sir. Every human facility we are monitoring has activated defensive systems we did not know existed." Admiral Vekmer realized with growing horror that the Council had made a terrible mistake. They had not declared war on a primitive species. They had declared war on an enemy that had been preparing for this moment for decades. The humans had not been hiding their capabilities out of fear. They had been hiding them as part of a plan that was now being revealed across the galaxy. The Council's intelligence networks, which had watched human activities for 50 years, had been completely fooled. As reports continued to pour in, one thing became terrifyingly clear. The humans were not just ready for war. They had been waiting for it. Fleet Admiral Vekmer stood in the Council's main war room, watching his carefully planned invasion turn into a disaster. Red warning lights flashed across every display as reports of failed attacks poured in from across the galaxy. What should have been a swift extermination was becoming a nightmare that defied all military logic. "Sir, we have lost contact with the 3rd Battle Group," reported his communications officer, a young Zelkarian whose scaled skin had turned pale with fear. "Lost contact how?" Vekmer demanded, his massive claws gripping the command console. "They were approaching the mining world Kepler 442b to begin bombardment operations. Their last transmission reported normal approach vectors. Then nothing, complete silence from all ships in the fleet." Vekmer studied the tactical display showing the Kepler system. According to all intelligence reports, the world held only a small human mining colony with basic defensive systems. A full battle group of 12 heavy cruisers and their escort vessels should have been able to destroy the settlement in minutes. "Send a reconnaissance probe to investigate," he ordered. The probe's journey to Kepler 442b took 6 hours. When it arrived and began transmitting data back to Council headquarters, Vekmer felt his confidence crumble completely. Where his 3rd battle group should have been, the probe detected nothing but empty space and strange energy readings. The mining world itself had changed beyond recognition. What had appeared to be simple excavation sites were now revealed as components of a massive planetary defense system. The entire surface bristled with weapons that generated energy signatures beyond anything in Council databases. "How is this possible?" Vekmer whispered. His question was answered by Admiral Soong-Ho Park, though he did not know it yet. Hidden deep beneath the surface of Kepler 442b, Admiral Park was reviewing the successful completion of the first phase of humanity's counterattack. "Status report on the captured vessels," Admiral Park requested from his command center, which had been disguised as a mining control room for over 30 years. All enemy crew members have been processed and are being held in comfortable quarters, reported his aide, Commander Jin Wan. As predicted, they offered no resistance once they realized their weapons were useless and their ships were under our control. Admiral Park nodded with satisfaction. The plan had worked exactly as designed. When the Council fleet had approached Kepler 442b, they had triggered hidden systems that created a massive electromagnetic field around the entire star system. Their ships had not been destroyed. They had been captured intact, their crews unharmed but completely helpless. Begin Phase 2 of the Deception Protocol, Admiral Park ordered. I want Council Command to believe their fleet was destroyed. Let them send more ships to investigate. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out as human forces demonstrated fighting methods that no Council strategist had ever encountered. While most galactic species followed predictable patterns of honorable direct combat, humans employed tactics that left their enemies paralyzed with confusion and fear. General Hyun-Woo Kim was leading the most ambitious part of the human counterattack. From his hidden base in the asteroid fields of the Vega system, his mission was not to destroy Council communication networks, but to turn them against the Council itself. Target acquired, reported his communication specialist, Lieutenant So Young-beek. We have full access to the Council's primary military communication hub in the Alpha Centauri sector. General Kim smiled as he watched his team work. Instead of destroying the hub, they were going to feed it carefully crafted false information that would send Council fleets chasing phantom threats, while real human forces moved undetected. Upload the Ghost Fleet data, he ordered. I want Council sensors to detect massive human battle groups moving toward their core worlds. The false information flowed into Council networks like poison in a water supply. Within hours, Admiral Vekmer was receiving urgent reports of human invasion fleets approaching the Council's most important worlds. The energy signatures matched. No known human technology, suggesting that humanity had been hiding weapons of incredible power. Sir, long-range sensors detect 17 massive human vessels approaching the Arcturus system, reported his tactical officer. Energy output suggests Dreadnought-class ships or larger. Vekmer immediately ordered 3 full battle groups to intercept the Phantom fleet. The ships raced across space to defend one of the Council's most important industrial worlds, leaving other sectors vulnerable to real human attacks. While Council forces chased shadows, the most devastating blow of all was being prepared by someone the Council trusted completely. Dr. Mi-Ran Choi had served as the Council's chief medical advisor. For 30 years, every major species in the galaxy had benefited from her medical research. She had saved billions of lives and had earned the respect of leaders across the galactic community. What none of them knew was that every medical treatment she had developed, every cure she had discovered, and every biological study she had conducted had given her complete knowledge of how every alien species functioned at the cellular level. Dr. Choi stood in her laboratory on the Council's central medical station, looking at the device that would end the war in a single stroke. It appeared to be a simple medical scanner, the kind used in hospitals throughout the galaxy. In reality, it was a weapon more dangerous than any battleship. Are you certain this will not harm the alien crew members? Asked her assistant, Dr. Young Soo-han. Completely certain, Dr. Choi replied. The virus is designed to affect their technology, not their biology. Every ship, every weapon, every communication device that uses their standard power sources will become completely inert. The crews will be unharmed but stranded. She activated the device, and an invisible signal spread outward at faster than light speed. The signal was designed to be absorbed by the specific energy crystals that powered all Council technology. Once absorbed, it would cause a cascade failure that would render the crystals permanently inactive. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the galaxy, Council warships found themselves powerless as their energy systems failed one by one. Weapons went offline. Life support switched to emergency power. Communication systems went silent. Entire fleets became helpless collections of metal floating in space. Admiral Vekmer watched in horror as every ship in his command center's tactical display changed from green to red, indicating complete system failure. Emergency lighting activated. As the command center itself lost primary power. "What is happening?" he roared, but his communications officer could not answer. The young Zelkarian was staring at his console in shock as every system showed total failure. Throughout the galaxy, Council forces found themselves in the same situation. Their mighty war machine, built over centuries of conquest and expansion, had been neutralized in minutes by a single human scientist with a thorough understanding of alien technology. The psychological impact was even more devastating than the physical effect. The Council's member species had built their entire identity around their technological superiority over primitive races like humanity. Now they faced the terrifying reality that the humans they had dismissed as backward had surpassed them in every meaningful way on Earth. Admiral Ji-Hai Choi received confirmation that Phase 3 of the human plan was complete. From her command bunker beneath the ruins of Seoul, she smiled as she prepared to activate the final revelation that would reshape Galactic civilization forever. The Council had started a war they thought they could win easily. Instead, they had triggered the emergence of humanity as the galaxy's dominant power. The species they had tried to exterminate was about to become their new masters. Ambassador Daeho Kim stood in what had once been the Council's most secure detention facility. The energy barriers that had held him prisoner were now nothing more than decorative light displays. His guards, the mighty Kethver warriors who had seemed so intimidating just days before, sat quietly in the corner looking confused and defeated. The rescue had been almost disappointingly easy. When Dr. Mi-Ran Choi's virus had disabled all Council technology, the prison security systems had simply stopped working. Human special forces had walked through the facility like they owned it, freeing not just Daeho but hundreds of other prisoners who had been held for various crimes against Council authority. Now Daeho prepared to address the galaxy from the very chamber where the Council had pronounced humanity's death sentence. The irony was not lost on him as he looked out at the transmission equipment that would carry his words to every inhabited world in known space. "Are all channels open?" he asked Commander Tin-Min Lee, who had shed his disguise as a cultural attach, and now wore the uniform of Human Intelligence Services. "Every communication network in the galaxy is receiving our signal," Tin-Min confirmed. "The Council cannot block us because their jamming systems are offline, along with everything else." Daeho nodded and stepped forward to address the galaxy. His image appeared on billions of screens across thousands of worlds, reaching species that had never seen a human speak with authority before. "Citizens of the galaxy," he began, his voice calm and steady. "I am Ambassador Daeho Kim of the Human Federation. 3 days ago, the Galactic Council declared war on humanity and ordered our complete extermination. Today, I speak to you from the Council's own chambers to explain why their war has already failed. On worlds throughout the galaxy, alien beings stopped what they were doing to listen. Many had heard rumors about the sudden failure of Council forces, but few understood what was really happening. The Council believed they were attacking a primitive species that had stumbled into space through luck and accident." Daeho continued. "They thought we were grateful children who needed their guidance and protection. They were wrong about everything." He paused, letting his words sink in before delivering the revelation that would change galactic civilization forever. "Humanity has been preparing for this moment since our first contact with galactic society over 50 years ago. Every treaty we signed, every trade agreement we accepted, and every diplomatic mission we undertook was part of a comprehensive plan to understand and eventually surpass every species in the galaxy. The reaction across the galaxy was immediate and profound. On the Vorthak homeworld, citizens gathered around public communication screens in shocked silence. The idea that the small, seemingly harmless humans had been manipulating galactic society for decades was almost impossible to believe. Commander Gexthul, still stranded on Nexus Prime with his useless weapons, watched the broadcast from the station's main plaza. Around him, members of dozens of species listened as the human ambassador destroyed everything they thought they knew about the galaxy's power structure. You wonder how we could smile and cooperate while you treated us as inferior beings, Deho said, his expression remaining calm despite the revolutionary nature of his words. You thought it was because we were weak and grateful for your attention. The truth is much simpler. We were learning. On the screen, images began to appear showing human activities across the galaxy over the past 50 years. What had seemed like innocent cultural exchange and scientific cooperation was revealed as the most sophisticated intelligence-gathering operation in galactic history. Every human who served as a cultural liaison was studying your social structures and finding their weaknesses, Deho explained as the images showed humans working alongside alien governments. Every human scientist who collaborated on research projects was learning the secrets of your technology and biology. The images shifted to show human merchants and traders, including Hajun Lim on Nexus Prime. Every human trader who built relationships with your businesses was mapping your economic systems and creating dependencies that you never recognized. Fleet Admiral Vekmer watched the broadcast from his powerless command center, feeling sick as he realized the scope of human deception. For decades, he had worked with human military observers who had attended Council strategy meetings as junior partners. Now he understood that they had been gathering intelligence on every aspect of Council military operations. The great advances in galactic civilization over the past 50 years were not accidents, Deho revealed. The peaceful solutions to conflicts, the improvements in interstellar trade, the medical breakthroughs that saved billions of lives. All of these were guided by human intelligence working behind the scenes. This revelation struck at the heart of galactic pride. Species throughout the galaxy had celebrated their recent achievements, believing they had reached new heights of civilization through their own efforts. Now they learned that their primitive human partners had been secretly orchestrating their progress. On Earth, Admiral Ji-Hai Choi watched the broadcast from her command center with deep satisfaction. The moment they had all worked toward for half a century was finally here. She activated her personal communicator and spoke to human commanders across the galaxy. Begin Phase 4. Full Revelation Protocol is now active. Across the galaxy, human installations that had been disguised as research stations, trading posts, and cultural centers began to reveal their true nature. The technology they unveiled was not just superior to Council standards. It was centuries beyond anything the galactic community had imagined possible. On the Outer Rim, Captain B.O. Ramseo's archaeological site completed its transformation into a mobile fortress. The ancient ruins that had supposedly been the focus of her research dissolved like holograms, revealing a facility that could have served as the command center for an entire sector fleet. The ships you are seeing now represent only a fraction of human capabilities, Deho announced as images of human vessels appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. The sleek, powerful designs made Council dreadnoughts look like primitive chemical rockets. Dr. the Jin Wang appeared on screen next, standing in what was clearly an advanced medical facility rather than the simple research lab where the Council had believed she worked. For 40 years, I have been studying every species in the galaxy, she said calmly. Not to help them, though that was a pleasant side effect. I was cataloging their biological and technological weaknesses so that humanity would be prepared for any conflict. The psychological impact of her words was devastating. Every species that had trusted her with their medical secrets now realized that their most sensitive biological information was in human hands. We could have eliminated every hostile species in the galaxy at any time over the past 20 years, Dr. Wang continued. We chose not to because destruction was never our goal. Improvement was. Commander Taemin Lee took his turn to address the galaxy, revealing the scope of human intelligence operations. There is no council facility that we have not penetrated, he said simply. No military base where we do not have assets. No government where we do not have influence. We have been inside your civilization so completely that we became part of it. The final revelation came from Admiral Ji-Hai Choi herself, speaking from Earth's hidden command center. The planet you believed was humanity's weakness is actually our greatest strength, she announced as images showed Earth's true defenses. This world has been prepared as a fortress for over a century. The ruins you see on the surface are camouflage hiding weapons that could destroy entire fleets. As the broadcast ended, the galaxy fell into stunned silence. The council that had ruled for millennia was powerless. Their fleets were stranded. Their technology was useless. And the species they had tried to exterminate had revealed itself as the most advanced civilization in galactic history. The age of council dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. 6 months after the council's failed war against humanity, the galaxy looked completely different. The massive chamber that had once housed the Galactic Council now served as the meeting hall for the new Galactic Federation. Instead of towering platforms designed to intimidate smaller species, the new chamber featured circular seating arrangements where all beings could meet as equals. Captain Sujin Park stood at the center of the hall, no longer wearing the simple uniform of a human. Fleet officer. As the first Director General of the Galactic Federation, she wore robes that combined elements from dozens of different cultures, symbolizing the unity that humanity had brought to the galaxy. Around her, representatives from every major species sat in groups that would have been impossible under the old council system. Kethver warriors sat next to delicate crystalline beings they had once considered enemies. Vorthek traders shared tables with gas-form entities they had never been able to communicate with before. The Federation recognizes the petition from the Zelkarian Republic, Sujin announced, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's new acoustic systems. Please present your proposal. The young Zelkarian who stepped forward was the same communications officer who had served under Fleet Admiral Vekmer during the failed war. Now he represented his entire species in the new galactic government. Director General Park, he began, his scaled skin showing the blue patterns that indicated nervous respect among his people. The Zelkarian Republic requests assistance in rebuilding our communication networks using human-designed systems. Sujin nodded thoughtfully. The Federation's Technical Assistance Program is available to all member species. Engineer Kyung-min. Chun will work with your people to design systems that meet your specific needs. The ease of the exchange would have shocked anyone who remembered the old council's bureaucracy. Under the previous system, such a request would have taken years to process and would have required the petitioning species to prove their worthiness. Now it was handled in minutes with genuine concern for the applicant's needs. This transformation had not happened overnight. In the months following humanity's revelation, the galaxy had gone through what historians would later call the Great Adjustment. Species that had ruled others for centuries found themselves learning to cooperate as equals. Those who had been oppressed discovered they could speak freely for the first time in their history. Dr. Mi-Ran Choi had played a crucial role in the transition. After her technological virus had disabled council systems, she had worked around the clock to help restore functionality using human-designed replacements. But the new systems came with a difference. They were designed to encourage cooperation rather than dominance. The medical exchange program has exceeded all expectations, Dr. Choi reported to the Federation Assembly. Sharing knowledge freely among all species has led to breakthroughs that benefit everyone. We have eliminated 7 major diseases in the past 4 months alone. The contrast with the old system was striking. Under Council rule, medical knowledge had been carefully controlled to maintain dependencies between species. Advanced treatments were often kept secret to preserve political advantages. Now every discovery was shared immediately with anyone who could benefit from it. Commander Gexthul, the former station security chief from Nexus Prime, had become one of the most vocal supporters of the new system. His transformation from loyal Council enforcer to Federation advocate illustrated how the change had affected individuals across the galaxy. Under the old Council, my people were taught that strength meant dominance over others, he addressed the assembly during a debate on military policy. The humans have shown us that true strength comes from lifting others up rather than holding them down. Hajun Lim, who had revealed his true nature as a human intelligence operative during the war, now served as the Federation's trade coordinator. His deep understanding of galactic commerce, gained through decades of undercover work, made him uniquely qualified to design new systems that benefited everyone rather than just the powerful. Trade volume has increased by 300% since we eliminated the Council's restrictive tariffs and monopolies, he reported with satisfaction. When species can trade freely and fairly, everyone prospers. The economic transformation had been as dramatic as the political changes. Under Council rule, trade had been carefully controlled to maintain the dominance of favored species. Small civilizations had been forced to accept unfavorable deals or face economic isolation. The new Federation operated on principles of mutual benefit and fair exchange. But perhaps the most significant change was in how different species viewed conflict itself. The humans had demonstrated something that challenged thousands of years of galactic thinking. They had possessed the power to destroy their enemies completely, but had chosen restraint instead. Admiral Soon-Ho Park, who had captured an entire Council battle group without harming a single crew member, now headed the Federation's Conflict Resolution Institute. His approach to military problems focused on understanding and solution rather than domination and punishment. War should always be the last option, not the first, he explained to a group of young officers from various species. The humans showed us that the greatest victory is the one that turns enemies into allies. The former Council fleet crews who had been captured during the war had become some of humanity's strongest supporters. Instead of being imprisoned or executed, as they had expected, they had been treated with respect and eventually offered positions in the new Federation forces, fleet. Admiral Vekmer himself had undergone perhaps the most dramatic personal transformation. The proud military commander who had once led the attack on humanity now served as an advisor on the dangers of aggressive expansion. I spent my entire career believing that military might made right, he admitted during a Federation security briefing. The humans defeated us without hatred or cruelty. They showed us a better way to use strength. The psychological impact of humanity's approach continued to ripple through galactic society. Species that had spent millennia fighting over resources and territory began to discover the benefits of cooperation. Old conflicts that had seemed impossible to resolve were settled through human-mediated negotiations. Dr. The Jin Huang had established the Galactic Cooperation Institute, where representatives from different species worked together on problems that affected everyone. Her years of studying alien biology and psychology now served to help species understand each other rather than exploit weaknesses. When we work together, we accomplish things that none of us could achieve alone, she explained to a mixed group of researchers. The diversity of perspectives and abilities across different species is our greatest resource. The new approach to education reflected humanity's philosophy of shared growth. Instead of keeping knowledge secret to maintain advantages, the Federation established exchange programs where young beings from all species could learn from each other. Commander Tae-Min Lee had transitioned from intelligence operations to education. Coordination. His experience in understanding different cultures made him ideal for designing programs that respected diversity while building unity. Every species has something valuable to teach and something important to learn, he told a gathering of educators. Our job is to create opportunities for that exchange to happen naturally. As the first year of the Federation drew to a close, the transformation was undeniable. The galaxy that had once been ruled by fear and competition now operated on principles of cooperation and mutual support. The species that had tried to destroy humanity had instead been saved by human wisdom and restraint. In the final scene of this remarkable transformation, a young alien student approached her teacher with a question that perfectly captured the new reality. "Teacher Lee," the small crystalline being asked, her voice chiming like distant bells, "how did the humans change everything so completely without anyone realizing what was happening?" Commander Tae-Min Lee, now an educator rather than a spy, smiled as he gave the answer that defined humanity's approach to everything they had accomplished. "We did not change your civilization by force," he explained gently. "We improved it gradually and so carefully that by the time anyone realized what was happening, they did not want us to stop. We showed you that there was a better way to live together, and you chose to follow that path." The galaxy had indeed outlawed humans, but it had been far too late. Not because humanity was too strong to destroy, but because they had already planted the seeds of a better future in the hearts and minds of every species they encountered. The war that was meant to eliminate humanity had instead revealed them as the teachers the galaxy had always needed but never known it was missing.